Again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for sharing your time with me, attending this seminar workshop about revisiting curriculum, a new look at an old idea. So the curriculum is constantly at the heart of putting social ambitions and ideals into practice in terms of why, what, how, when, and where we educate, learn, and assess. In designing and developing a curriculum or revisiting a curriculum, there are factors that need to consider during the planning. So these are identifying the factors that can be used to combat vulnerability, strengthening the relationship between the school, the family, and the society, expanding local education, strengthening the focus on the individual or the learner, generating value synergies, valuing diversity, concentrating on education that promotes self-awareness, culturally relevant teaching, and community involvement, going toward mixed educational models, and instilling respect for educators. So today, I'm going to discuss to you the importance or the principles, or this is the guide for you on how to revisit or review the program or the curriculum. And at the end, we will be doing a workshop or mini workshop wherein you will be able to craft learning outcomes. You will be able to identify what's the difference between the curriculum, the syllabus, or the course delivery plan, and how to prepare a learning objective. So these are the key terms. Curriculum is the ordered selection of learning content and experiences which are developed for all learners to meet agreed national values and aspirations. This includes the needs of the students, the content of different subjects, and instructional methodology. So say, for example, the curriculum of ECE is different, of course, for the curriculum of computer engineering or for the curriculum of mechanical engineering. So the content of different subjects from diploma first year to bachelor is there. The total learning experience that the student will be needing for them to be ready in the job world. It is written in the curriculum. While syllabus is the sets out the specific details and program of what is to be taught and assessed at defined stages of schooling. Syllabus is on the basic. This is the subject. Say, for example, for ECE curriculum, what are the subjects for, say, for example, for electronics one or digital communication. So these are the that is identified topics written there, and how would you assess this? How would the lecturer assess that? It presents the content or the subject matter to be studied. And the next is the instruction. Instruction is the actual execution of the curriculum in school. It involves translating curriculum design into classroom activities and changing people's attitudes in order to accept and participate in curriculum activities. The instruction is how the teacher teach, but it is of course different because the profession of teaching is what we call the pedagogy. But here instruction is how you translate the design of the curriculum into teaching so that the student will learn. And once there's a change in the behavior of the students, you know that the students already learned. According to DeWaal 2004, curriculum is the sequence of course of study, including the content and its processes. It can be called a plan for learning, which contains assumptions about the purpose of education in our society, according to Wallace and Bondi in 1988. It is list of content to be taught to students, the set of subjects, the syllabi followed in school or college, program of school or college activities. It includes also the curricular and extracurricular, the sequence of courses. Of course, you have to learn first the fundamentals before you study the complex. and a set of study materials, a set of performance objectives, or we have the learning objectives and the learning outcomes, includes both curricular and extracurricular, as I mentioned. The curricular activities, these are the subjects, say for example, computer programming. And what are the activities? Well, the extracurricular, these are the site visit, these are the competition that is conducted within the campus. And it comprises all the experiences a learner receives in school or in the college. Okay. So according to Bian et al. 1986, she proposed curriculum into 4 categories. Curriculum as a product. It is the list of course or syllabi. Curriculum as a program, the entire learning program, from diploma first year, the first year college till 4th year college, or it depends on what kind of program or discipline. Curriculum as intended learning outcomes, what is to be learned. At the end of, say for example, at the end of, after graduation, the students are expected to what? So you have to identify what would be the student will learn. And curriculum as planned learner experiences, experience of the learners which is an outcome of the planned situations. So for the curriculum framework, it is an organized plan or set of standards or learning outcomes that defines the content to be learned in terms of clear, definable standards of what the student should know and be able to do. It provides a guidelines for translating into practice the scheme of the education at various stages of learning and includes the subject curricula, textbook, teacher guides, other learning resources, and assessment tools. Of course, it depends on the country. We have Oman curriculum framework for Oman. We have also curriculum framework for in the Philippines. These are the basic criteria and processes. Of course, number 1, it must be relevant in terms of age, location, and content. Okay. In terms of age, you cannot design a curriculum that is intended for the primary school, wherein the age of the people are at this age, 20 years above. Of course, the different curriculum is designed according to this. That's why we have curriculum for preschool, we have curriculum for kindergarten and basic education. We have also curriculum for high school and for the colleges. It depends on the discipline also. Geographical location, a student can relate to it geographically. Of course, the curriculum must be designed depending on the geographic condition. We cannot design a curriculum that is for the winter, intended for the Western people. We have also to consider the culture of the country and developmental stages of the learner. Okay, how you would design a curriculum. Development process from basic and then up going to the more complex, the most complex curriculum, and can be revised on the basis of review data. That's why we are now in the process of program review, wherein we have to check, is the curriculum of this ECE still perform well? Are the graduate of the ECE in the HCT are still okay? We have to check it based from the review, based from the outside, based from the company. That's why we have to include the community in doing the review of the curriculum. And of course, the feedback coming from the HOD, HOS, and the peer review. So this is the curriculum process and the products. This is sources UNESCO. Processes curriculum policy dialogue and formulation. And the product, educational policy documents and national curriculum framework. That's why it depends on the higher of the society or the political, the higher political. It is the meetings between them. That is curriculum framework is, of course, upon the approval of the higher. In our case, it is Ministry of Labor, or others are Ministry of Higher Education. Okay? And curriculum design, this is the curriculum standards, subject curricula, syllabus, localized curricula, and national examinations. We are now in this process. That's why, as you remember, during the last month, we are doing this kind of thing. The program coordinators asking you to prepare the learning outcomes, the learning objective, the course descriptor, and what are the subjects or the experiments that to be done. We are on this process. We are designing the curriculum. Okay. And development of learning materials, the school textbooks. That's why you are also asked, what are the textbooks that you need? Because you have to make sure that there is available textbook in the market before you implement a curriculum. And of course, the ETC, the ICT, the educational software. If this if this subject requires simulation, of course, there must be available software. Okay? And rules for the procurement and use of teaching and learning materials. This is on the finance, or here it depends on the ETC. So what are the procedure if we would like to procure this software but that is not available here in Oman? So what are the things that we should do? It should be clearly stated during this developmental of learning materials. Evaluation and approval of textbooks, guidelines, specification for textbook development and evaluation that has to be done on the department, the HOS from the program coordinator, HOS and HOD, and guideline specification for the selection of ICT product, which is of course depends on the department. The recommendation is from the department, submitted to HOS, HOD for approval, and to the ETC for final approval, forwarded to the finance. They have to validate only. Teacher training, teacher education curriculum in service programs, handbook or guide books for teachers. It is very important that there's a teacher training, because how would you handle a subject that you are not familiar with? That's why it is very important. And curriculum management, the inspection reports, guidelines for locally based curriculum development. That's why the quality assurance plays a very important role in our section or in our department for the curriculum management, of course, the curriculum committee. Okay? And the curriculum evaluation, curriculum evaluation outcomes, research reports on curriculum implementation, learning outcomes. That's why we have this feedback on curriculum. These are all the documentations that we need for the curriculum processes and products. The role of the curriculum specialist. Number one is to lead, design, or implement dialogue and advocacy opportunities with stakeholders to receive and propose new ideas. This is on the part of the program coordinator, which is the program coordinator main task was to communicate with different lecturers, different instructors, and as well as to different instructor on the other technical colleges of what is has to be done. Okay? Lead or participate in defining written curriculum, what must be learned, how we formulate results, and how we assess the outcomes of learning processes. That's why we have to formulate the learning objectives and learning outcomes. So last month we did the SBINA workshop. We are doing the curriculum mapping. Of course, you have to identify first what are the learning objectives, the college, the department learning objectives, and has to match what are the subjects to be taught in this specific program. And the assessment, okay, how we assess the outcomes of the learning process. This is the assessment criteria. How many, before we are doing this 50 marks for the final exam and assignment and whatever is that. So it depends there in the assessing the outcomes of the learning process. Lead or orient the process by which written curriculum becomes teaching. This is during the implementation. So after approval, of course, we have to implement it. And provide support to teachers by helping create and revise materials used in the classroom. We are doing this because every semester, we are advised to at least update our curriculum, our instructional materials, and analyze the student data to assess and improve the implementation and evaluation of classroom material. We have this course analysis, right? So we are already doing this. The curriculum and the role of the teachers. Teachers determine to a large extent the manner in which the curriculum is executed in the classroom. Very important, teacher, because the teacher is the one dealing with the student for implementation of the curriculum that is designed and developed by the curriculum specialist, by the HOS, HOD, and everything. For the curriculum orientations, these are the things, these adapted from the Al-Salem curriculum orientations, the self-actualization. Realization of one's potential. The student may ask, who am I? What am I going to be after I graduate this course? Okay, so, and number one is academic rationalism. Is the course that I'm taking is recognized by the government? When I graduate as an ECE, who will hire me? So these are the things that have to consider. And social reconstruction, addressing social questions the way we deal with other people. And cognitive process, take in information and transform it, store it, recover it, and put it into work. So what the student learn in the classroom, the student should apply or may apply it when he or she entered in the outside world, which is the job, the actual life. For the curriculum implementation, we have two types. We have the competency-based and we have the outcome-based. For the competency-based, it is one that is focused on learners acquiring competencies to apply knowledge rather than knowledge itself. It focuses on mastery learning. Okay, it's more on developed for specific professions or occupations such as driving, medicine, nursing, teaching, etc. We have the mastery, more on focus on the for the achievement of the student, more on the grade of the student, especially for grading. Okay, this is the framework of competency-based education, the online courses, the skills practice, the assessments, the learner support, the tracking progress, and what happened? Please, okay, and the refinement. So refinement means what you're doing, what the other teachers are doing, you have to, the student had this difficulty, so we have this tutorial, or we need to upgrade this because of something, okay? And certification, the certificate that the student received. So these are the factors of the competency-based education. And this is the outcome-based curriculum. It specifies what we expect a student to know or be able to do after a period of study. Outcomes may include competencies or they may just relate to knowledge. So this is the OBE, the plan, do, check and act from the vision, mission of the college. And here, the program outcomes and the course outcomes. So we have to map, this is what we're doing. We have to map this program outcome based on the specified, the stated vision and mission of the university. And then from that, check what are the program outcomes. And from program outcomes, check what are the courses that needs to be offered. And from that courses, we have to specify what are the learning outcomes. This is how we do it. And the teaching learning systems, the resources and facilities, the teaching methods, methodology of the teachers, how we do it. We should do the student-centered approach, not the teacher-centered approach, because maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 10 years ago, until now, there are still some teachers that they are still doing this kind of methodology, the teacher-centered approach, wherein the teacher has the control of the class. Teacher will speak, no student will listen. But now, we have to convert this kind of methodology into what we call the student-centered approach, wherein we have to focus the learning to the student. Let them develop their own knowledge. Okay? Check, this is the assessment and evaluation. Of course, according to institution, the program and the course, how we assess the student. Say, for example, the final year project, how would we assess the student based criteria. So it is written there. That's why the rubrics is a very important tool in assessing the performance of the students. And improvements, updates on enhancement. So if there is a problem arise or the performance is below the expected output, then we have to improve or enhance this system. Okay, this is the outcome-based curriculum. This is the figure of the comparison of the CBE and the OBE in terms of implementation. As you notice on the left, this one here, this is the CBE or the competency-based curriculum. As you notice here, this is teacher-controlled and content-centered, but more on the low level of this is the lot or the low level of thinking or the lots, which starts from the remembering, understanding, and applying. This is the competence, because more on memorization, more on skills practice. This is the competency-based. But here, in the outcome-based, it is there on the high level of thinking, which is here from analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Because authentic real-world assessment, we are focusing on the outcome or the output of the student, not on the grade of the student, because the student memorized this kind of problem. But when you change the value, the student doesn't know anymore. So here, the outcome-based here is divergent, and this is a learner-controlled and learning-centered. Curriculum implementation requires coordination among the various activities related to it, and implementation would be effective if the infrastructure facilities are adequate, teaching learning materials is provided, and teachers are trained. Okay. We don't have any problem here because since it is a government, OTAS is a government-funded institution, and I know that the administration is trying to give what the student need during the teaching learning process, so we don't have any problems. Although there are some, because of some factors that there are some delays, but still the administration is very supportive on this. And teaching learning materials provided, we are giving handouts to students for free to make sure that they have the resources needed for them to learn. They need for the teaching learning process, and teachers are trained. That's why we have this HR project every year that we have this, we have to conduct training to train the trainers, because you're already trainers, for you to refresh or for you to gain knowledge on this kind of things. And it includes the following activities: the development of syllabus, of course, which is we are doing, preparation of textbook, development of student support materials, and orientation and training of teachers and administrative staff. For curriculum implementation to be meaningful, the physical infrastructure in the school and trained teachers should be available as per the requirement. That's why since we are planning that by academic year 22-23 will be a 2-semester, that's why the department is preparing the plotting of how many staff would be needed, because the number of courses per semester also will be 5, become 6 maybe. So the number of hours will be longer. So they need to prepare. It must be the trained teacher should be available during the implementation. And if there is needs for a classroom or laboratory, the administration should provide it before the implementation. Curriculum evaluation, review and monitoring, which will lead to improvement. That's why the feedback, curriculum feedback, the feedback of the student when you deliver, the feedback of your supervisor is very important, especially this time that we are preparing this EJADA for the IBMS. So we need all this documentation. And can be monitored by collecting data relating to the program in its outcomes. And the review process takes into account the gaps between the formulated objective and the outcomes resulting from the implementation of the curriculum. That's why we are checking, are the learning objective or the learning outcomes stated on your course delivery plans met? Because maybe there's a lot of learning outcomes, but you just met 2 learning outcomes. So there's a problem during implementations. Because that's why this is very important. And can be revised on the basis of review data. That's why every end of the semester we are tasked to submit what are the criteria, what are the learning outcomes that has achieved or that during in these courses, and they have to review it and check. So there's maybe a problem for the timing, possible for the timing, possible for the content, which is sometimes doesn't mismatch between the theory and the practical. So there are factors that need to consider during that time, during this reviewing of the data. And we have these models of education evaluation. Number 1 is experimental or quasi-experimental. The Kirkpatrick's evaluation model, the logic model, and the CIPP. Since it is more technical more on education, we will focus only on the CIPP. CIPP stands for the context, input, process, and product. Context in evaluation, this is the question that has to be asked for the context. What is necessary or useful? In other words, what are the educational needs? Okay, so for each specific program or discipline, you have to check this one. This is a checklist. What necessary or useful, what are the educational needs? In terms of ECE, because I'm an ECE, when the student graduated Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Communication Engineering, what are the demands from the outside? So are they needing, maybe in the first 5 years, are they needing more than 100 ECE? So what are the jobs that, say for example, they will become an electronics engineer, they will become a telecom engineer, whatever is that, it has to be identified in the context. Okay, and number 2, what are the impediments to meeting necessary or useful needs? What are the things that might hinder for this implementation? And what pertinent expertise, services, and other assets are available? Are there available teachers to teach this specific course? And are there any labs available? Maybe we will implement this kind of program, but we don't have lab. So and we don't have a company who will hire them. What will happen to our graduates? Okay, so it's another problem with the government. And then, what relevant opportunities, the funding opportunities, administrative support exist? Funding opportunities, if they graduate, because one of our, the college graduate attributes is entrepreneurial, what maybe the administration will support, how they're going to support our graduates. So I hear that the graduates here, there is support from the government. They are giving this fund to start up a business as an entrepreneur. So it's very good that the government support the graduates. And for the input, what are the potential approaches to meeting the identified educational need? What has to be done? And how feasible is each of the identified approaches given the specific educational context of the need? Now we have to identify how we're going to meet these things. We have to list down. And from that, we'll come up with our best solution. How cost-effective each identified approach given the specific educational context of the need. So is it cost-effective? Maybe we will just identify that is the need, but in terms of the cost, it will, we will have to pay more in providing these resources or the teacher training. So these are the things that we have to consider. And the process, how was the program actually implemented compared to the plan? Because maybe the plan is different, but during implementation, we may face problems. Okay, so this is for the process. And how is or was the program implementation documented? How are you going to document this? Because we have a lot, especially in our engineering, most of us are from engineering. We have a lot of things that the staff training, but not documented. Now we have problems in the documentation. Because for us to be ISO, say for example, certified, or for us to pass the quality assurance, it has to be documented. Every single work that we are doing, it has to be documented. Was the program running on budget? If it was over or under the planned budget, maybe the budget allocated for each program, say for example, is 20,000 real per year. But the program will consume a lot of budget. So it's still practical to open this kind of program. So these are the things that is considered during the process on the evaluation. And did participants accept and carry out their roles? Say, for example, you will be the program coordinator or whatever, so will you accept this at this kind of budget? So you have to consider that. And, okay, we will go to the product. What positive outcomes of the programs can be identified? What negative outcomes of the programs can be identified? So you have to identify the pros and the cons of this program. Because Mr. Bernard is keep on checking on that one, I will make it very, very fast. Okay. For the curriculum development, it is a planned, purposeful, progressive, and systematic process to create positive improvements in the educational system. Okay, this is the curriculum development. This is the curriculum drivers and constraints. We have the pedagogic and scholarly literature, the profession of teaching, input from practitioners, employers, current students, and alumni. It's very important to consider these things. We have institutional learning and teaching policy, which is from the administration, the policy management system. The available resources, the staff, the library, the software, the physical facility, and the program framework and time constraints. Of course, time constraint will this course be delivered on this specific time. Okay? And governmental higher education guidelines and directives which comes from the ministry. Okay. So all of these are the curriculum drivers and constraints. This is the conceptual framework of the curriculum design. We have here the curriculum as a big. Okay, as a big. This is the curriculum for ECE. This is the curriculum for accountancy. This is the curriculum for mechanical, say for example. But a part of this is the syllabus. Syllabus is the subjects or the subjects. Say for example, the syllabus for the syllabus for electronics one, the syllabus for subject for communication telecom one. So it's different. While the curriculum is list of all the courses for a specific program. Okay. And we have the course outline there, wherein it is mentioned there the learning objectives, the learning outcomes. But in our case, this syllabus and course outline is in one. We have here what we call the course delivery. And even the methodology is already written there, okay? And the lesson planning, which is to be done, usually we're advised to do this when I was when I studied this teaching. It is a guide for the teachers that even what you should tell or what should do at the start of the lesson, it should be there. Initiating activity. So when you enter the class, we have to recall of the first, the previous subject or the previous topic before you continue with that. So it is the written outline. This is the lesson planning, but we are not doing this because they say college teachers are not doing this lesson planning. As long as you have the course delivery plan and as your guide is enough, or the syllabus plus the course outcome, course outline, I mean. And these are the comparison of the curriculum, the syllabus, the course outline, and lesson plan. The curriculum is content is the instructional content, materials and resources, physical and mental activities of the students, the assignment, the tests and the exams, and the evaluation method for each program. While the syllabus, this is the instruction and subject information. You have here the goal, the course code, the course goal, the course description, and what are the topics, and how you would deliver that for a specific week, okay? And the grading and evaluation system, of course, the assessment criteria is there, and the learning resources, the textbooks, and the assignment descriptions and deadlines. It should be written already there, okay? Well, the course outline, the outcomes, evaluation, and teaching sequence of the course, which I was telling you that the syllabus and the course outline is combined into one, and we called it as the course delivery plan, okay? And the lesson plan is the tools to help educators to structure, plan, and organize lessons. So, say for example, for a specific topic, if my topic today is just Ohm's law, then I have to write there what I should discuss during a specific, at the end of a 60-minute lesson, the students will be able to identify that one. And what are the initiating activity, and how you would assess the students. Say, for example, after the 50 minutes or 60 minutes, we can make assessment, but it should not be graded, okay? It should not be graded. For you, this is a tool for the teacher so that the teacher would know how this my student learned during the specific period of time. We call it as a formative assessment, okay? Not a summative, because summative is the midterm exam, final exam, quizzes, these are the summative, okay? And this is the curriculum development and review cycle according to CDRC. This is from the HCT. From the vision and mission and values, so these are the development cycle. From the graduate attributes, this is the institutional learning objectives. That's why at the end of the student graduate in this college, entrepreneurship, so at least they can build their own business. Okay, what are the other graduate attributes? These are the institutional learning objectives, or the institutional objectives, okay? Program goals and objectives. The program, the BSACE program, this is the goal, and these are the objectives. And then the course objective and learning outcomes, but we can just focus on the learning outcomes because at the end of this, say for example, this course, these are the students, these are the learning outcomes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Assessment standard, 50 marks for the final exam. For the theory with lab, say for example, 70% for the theory and 30% for the lab. Wherein from the theory, 50 marks for the final exam, and so on and so forth. This is written there in the standard, in the assessment standard. And the approval of revised and developed curriculum. That's why this the review and approval, and implementation of curriculum, and monitoring and feedback, and we have the recommendation if there's a need to change the curriculum after the program review. When the curriculum change mean innovation at the classroom or whole school levels, as well as the reform and reconstruction of a whole or of parts of the education system. So there's a curriculum change after the feedback of the program review. So if there's really a need that we don't have, of course we have also to transform the curriculum depending on the needs of the outside world. Why should we study this obsolete equipment if there's a new equipment? This is one of the factors that needs to consider when there is a curriculum change. Considerations regarding curriculum change: political agreement, policy and technical agreement. It considers the expectation of society at several levels: the local, national, and global. We have to consider that. This is the international trends and curriculum change from teaching, which is the teacher-centered, to student-centered. Okay, from teaching to learning. The focus is on the student. And transfer of facts, we will not transfer because usually the teacher transfer facts to the students before. But now the trend is student construction of knowledge. Let the student think. Let the student develop the knowledge according to the principle that the teacher discussed. And memorization of information. This is very, very important. Before the student memorize, you have to memorize this poem or this story, and you have to recite it, this is only on the lower level of learning. We have from memorization of information, it transformed to analysis, synthesis, evaluation, application of information, which is here analysis, synthesis, evaluation. This is the high order of learning in the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay? Focus on knowledge to development of knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes. We have to always consider the skills, the values, and attitude. These are the domains of learning, which I will discuss later. And the summative assessment to authentic informative assessment and competency. That's why at the end of each topic or each lesson, it is better to always check the learning of the student. How will you do that? Perform formative assessment. Because if the students are allergic, when we say, okay, get a paper and write this quiz, short quiz, they are very allergic to that because they think it as a recorded. No, it should not be recorded because this is a teacher tool. How would you assess yourself as a teacher? Did my student learn from my teaching today? So this is your basis. Okay, we call this a formative assessment. And learning by role, applied learning, learning on context. Categorized knowledge. These are the traditional subjects. Integrated knowledge, the broader learning areas. From schooling to lifelong learning. And focus on inputs, here focus on outcomes and processes. Didactic teaching, participatory, activity-centered approaches that incorporate interactive methods. So you have to engage your student to participate in your activities. And assumption that there is one learning style, recognition that there are several preferred learning styles. We have to consider that students are different. They have different learning style. Students, we may say that some students are slow on memorizing or slow learning on terms of they cannot catch up immediately, while there are students that very fast. They are fast learner. We have to consider that some students have low vision, so we have also to consider that some students are, writing slowly. These are the things that we should consider during that time, during that curriculum. And curriculum as a product, curriculum as both process and product. Okay, and here the main focus is revisiting curriculum. Dahl 1996 highlights 3 reasons why teachers could be effective improvers of the curriculum. That's why maybe you will ask why our program coordinators always involve us in crafting and learning outcomes, because we are the one dealing with the students. That's why it is very important. The role of the teachers are very important in crafting or developing a curriculum, because the teachers work close proximate with the learners, engage in individual study, interact with other teachers, and share their curricular experience. Okay. this is the pedagogy. This is the pedagogy is the way. This is just I would like only to compare what is pedagogy, the curriculum, instruction, instructional design. Pedagogy is the way the teacher delivers the content of curriculum to student. It is the profession of teaching. Okay? While curriculum is the framework of education, which I already mentioned from the previous slides, and instruction is how the teachers deliver the subject to the students, and instructional design, the process of identifying learning needs and development of learning materials in order to improve instruction. So we have here the pedagogy, we have the blended learning, we have also to incorporate the gamification during the preparation of your instructional materials or instructional design to make sure that you will engage the student. And we have the multiliteracies, not focused on the ECE, but of course we have to focus other literacy, and the embodied learning, the experiential learning, and we have the computational thinking. Okay? And instruction is how the teacher delivers the subject to the student based on the research-based principles of instruction, research in cognitive science, research on the classroom practice, and research on cognitive support to help students learn complex tasks. We have here the instructional principles. Begin a lesson with a short review of previous learning. That's what, this is for the lesson planning. You have just, when you attend the class with your student, don't immediately tell them, this is the program of this course. Of course, you have to discuss first, initiate the lesson by, you have to review of what have you learned from the previous meeting, and then prevent new material and new steps with student practice after each step. Ask large number of questions and check the responses of students. Provide models, guide student practice, check for student understanding, obtain a high success rate, provide scaffold for difficult tasks, and require a monitor independent task, and engage student in weekly and monthly reviews. See, this is the instructional principles. And instructional design is an organized procedure that includes steps of analyzing, designing, developing, implementing, and evaluating instruction. This is the most popular instructional design, the ADDIE model, which is I used it during the implementation of my instructional design I discussed last time. The ADDIE model, which is analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. For those who attended my last training, I mentioned about the ADDIE model. Analyze your situation to understand the gaps in your that you need to fill. So what's the problem? Okay, during your instructional, what are the gaps? Okay, and then from that you analyze already what's the problem. Then you will design this is to be done because of that problem, and then development. This is how you would do development of learning materials, or development if there is a video or photo that you should flash during the instruction. It is there. And implementation, this is the actual testing or the actual implementation of your instructional, the materials, and the evaluation, the assessment. If there's a need to change, then you have to go back to the first cycle. We call it the ADDIE model. And then this is the three domains of learning. Number one is the cognitive skills, this one. And psychomotor, and this is the affective skills. The cognitive skills, this is the thinking and the problem solving. Encouraging students to think and solve problems methodically, okay? Cognitive, more on thinking. Okay, this is the learning of the students. The student think, memorize, whatever is that, create. This is the, and number two is the psychomotor. This is how, say for example, the student, a student can use the oscilloscope. At first, the student is very hesitant to do it because The student is not familiar. But because of using this oscilloscope, the students will be familiar with this kind of equipment. We call it as psychomotor skills and affective skills, emotional growth, entrepreneurial development. How the student develop valuing for other student, valuing for the teacher. I will not do this because it might hurt other students. You value. Oh, I remove this bottle of water here. What will happen to the equipment? So this is how you value. This is part of the learning of the student. Okay? And we have here the Bloom's taxonomy. You are all familiar with this. From remembering to create. From remember, understand, apply. These are the low order of thinking, the lots in your assessment criteria, table of specification, in recognizing and recalling facts. In this, the students will be able to define what is Ohm's law. The students will be able to say, for example, enumerate what this. So there, on that focus, on that area, the remembering, the students will be able to name the different types of equipment used to perform an electronics experiment. So the students will know that using the remembering. Understanding what facts mean and applying the facts, rules, concept, and ideas. So the students will be able to differentiate this one or solve, applying, utilizing this formula to solve this, what is given the students. So from knowing to applying already. But there, the analyze, evaluate, and create, these are the high level of thinking, in which we have to judging the value, combining parts to make a new whole. You have the students starting to develop their knowledge and tell what is needed. Okay. Here, this is the Fink's taxonomy. Before, we are focusing only on the Bloom's. This is very, very familiar. I know already the Bloom's taxonomy, but this is the Fink's taxonomy. This was just developed in 2003. It is known as a taxonomy of significant learning. Okay, a model for a course design that aligns learning goals with a method for assessing students. If in the Bloom's taxonomy, we are only dealing with from the low order of thinking to high order of thinking, here we have to consider that these are the things, they are interrelated with each other. From foundational knowledge, application, integration, human dimension, caring, and learning how to learn, the lifelong learning. Okay, this is the significant learning, the Fink's taxonomy. Foundational knowledge is just the part of the Bloom's taxonomy. Foundational knowledge, students will understand and remember key concepts, terms, relationships, facts, etc. This is from the remembering and understanding remembering. And application, students will know how to do important facts. Application, integration, students will be able to identify the relationship between X and Y. And the human dimension, for the self, students will better understand themselves. And for the others, students will be able to interact positively and productively with others. And caring, students will care more deeply about the subject or issues related to this subject. Oh, if I didn't study today, I cannot answer the exam tomorrow. So, in this caring, okay? And learning how to learn, students will improve certain skills that are important for being a good student. I have to practice this by myself because my objective is to get an A grade, okay? So, this is learning how to learn. Effective use of performance objectives. We're almost on the last, but we have a workshop, but it's up to you how you do it. What is a learning objective? A learning objective is an outcome statement that captures specifically what knowledge, skills, and attitudes learners should be able to exhibit following instruction. As you notice here, the knowledge, which is the cognitive, the skills, which is the psychomotor, and the attitudes, which is the affective, okay? And why have learning objectives helps unit planners integrate across a day, week, or unit of learning, and serves to connect content assessment around learning and guide selection of teaching learning activities that will best achieve objectives and gives learner a clear picture of what to expect and what's expected of them, and forms the basis for evaluating learner and curriculum effectiveness. That's why it's very important that there's specific objectives and outcomes. The components of learning objective, it must be SMART. Okay? S for specific, measurable, attainable for the target audience within scheduled time and specified condition. Of course, it must be relevant and results-oriented, and it has to be targeted to the learner, to the desired level of learning. So how do I create a useful learning objective? To create a specific, measurable, and results-oriented learning objectives, it is helpful to finish the sentence after this unit or after this semester or after a 60-minute lesson. The student should be able to, okay, then start with the learning objective. Start with an observable action word that captures what the learner should be able to do, okay? And avoid ill-defined terms that are open to variable interpretation. Never use this word, understand, learn, know, grasp. How would you measure the learning of the student if the learning objectives or the learning outcomes know the basic of communication system? How would you measure the knowledge of the student? Of course, avoid using these kind of terms in preparing, and when necessary, specify criteria concerning the expected standard of performance, which is the rubrics. This is an important tool in assessing the performance of the student. And how do I create a useful learning objective? To create an attainable learning objective, consider the beginning level of understanding a skill of your learners and craft your objective to move them to the next level. Of course, from basic or from fundamentals to complex. Consider and specify when appropriate the conditions under which performance will take place. Example, on a written exam, describe, okay, specified. And starts with an observable action words that capture what the learner should be able to do. And limit the number of objectives to major learning points you would like the students to walk away. Don't write too many learning objectives, too many learning outcomes that you know that you will not meet this at the end of the semester. And to create objectives targeted to the audience and desired level of learning and thinking, ask yourself whether you want the learners to be able to know, apply, integrate, consider human dimension, care, or learn to learn. The Fink's taxonomy, which is I will give you later. I have here the handouts. And match your action verbs to the desired level and limit the number of objectives to major learning points you would like to student. Okay. This is the foundational knowledge which I discussed in the Fink's taxonomy, the basic. Here, the foundational knowledge, the understanding and remembering. And the application, the critical thinking, the practical thinking, creative thinking, and managing complex projects and performance skills. Here, this side. Oh, nasaan ako? Ayun. And then we have the integration. What connections should learners be able to recognize and make within and beyond this learning experience? This is the interdisciplinary discipline, connecting ideas, disciplines, perspectives, context, the learning communities, connecting people and learning and living, working, connecting different realms of life. And then the human dimension, the interpersonal relationship, relationship with peers, relationship with supervisors, relationship with students. This is about the human dimension. Self-authorship, learning to create and take responsibility for one's own life. You must learn how to be a responsible teacher or responsible student. Are you following the policies? So these are the things that you have to consider. And the leadership, becoming an effective leader. This is also one of our, graduate attributes. And ethics, character building, living by ethical principles. The people must be ethically responsible, not only in an organization but in a society as a whole. And multicultural education, being culturally sensitive in interaction with others. Culture is especially here. We have to consider the culture of other people in doing the activities. And and working as a member of a team, knowing how to contribute to a team. It's not that you're just part of a team only in paper, but you will not, participate in any event. Okay? And citizenship of one's profession and environmental ethics. This is in relation to non-human world. And also, I think the caring, wanting to be a good learner, becoming excited about a particular activity or subject, and developing a commitment to live right. And last is learning how to learn, how to be a better learner, engage in self-regulated learning or deep learning, and how to inquire and construct knowledge, and how to pursue self-directed or intentional learning. You have to learn how to learn by yourself, not only with the aid of the teacher who will always support you, or you will always ask you. That's why, especially in the project students, let the student do the report. Let the student do the project, of course, with the guidance of the teachers, but do not do the project of the students, because at the end of the day, we will grade you. But of course, helping is very important, okay? Supervising, okay? And the Fling's taxonomy, this is the activity. You can do it at home, in your offices, but this is just a topic. The teacher as a developer of the course delivery plan and course material, okay? This is your role as a teacher. Choose one topic from the delivery plan of the course that you are teaching and create a lesson plan, okay? Use observable, objective, based on the Fink's taxonomy or the Bloom's taxonomy. Here, the sample. This is my course, okay? Digital communication system and switching, okay? As I've told you, the curriculum is a whole, the curriculum of the ECE department, wherein the courses from diploma first year till bachelor is there, okay? But the next one is the syllabus and the learning content, which is combined into one to make it course delivery plan. Here is the course title. As you notice here, the course code and the prerequisite of the course, also the theory, the practical, and the contact hours is there, the teachers, and everything is there. The goal is there to enable students to understand and analyze the techniques involved in modern digital communication system, and also to understand the modern telephone switching techniques. Number one course objective. At the end of the semester, the course should be able to, the students to, number one, understand the process involved in the data transmission and digital transmission of analog signal. So what is wrong in there? Number two objective, understand about the error detection and correction techniques in the digital communication. Number three, understand the concept involved in the measurement of information and source coding and channel coding. And number four is analyze and design the electronic switching system for communication. Of course, I'm not blaming Mr. Bajo. I'm not blaming him, because it's already there. We cannot change. We cannot change. This is as per directives. We cannot change anything about that. But here, learning outcomes. At the end of the semester, the student who satisfactorily complete the course should be able to. It's okay. It's specified that at the end of the semester, the student complete the course should be able to. Number one, describe the various elements of digital communication system, which is good because it is the word that used is measurable. Describe. Explain the general constraints and limitation in the design of communication system. And number three, understand the problems and techniques involved in the baseband transmission, ISI, pulse shaping, and eye diagram. And number four, analyze the modern digital communication techniques. Know the concept in measure of information and entropy, and describe the source coding technique based on information. From that, we could, after our discussion, you know already what is wrong with that.
I have a question.
Yes?
Understand could be the error, the problem there, but isn't it in Bloom's taxonomy?
Yeah.
The low order thinking is understand.
Understand is not included in the Bloom's taxonomy. That's why. Understanding in the terms of the framework, but in the observable objective, understand, know, and learn is not included. Okay, understand in the sense that in the framework, understand, remembering, generally, okay, because the students understand. But these words are not observable objective. That's why we should avoid using that when crafting our learning outcomes.
Why avoid? Can we just stop using it?
Stop. That's why stop. Stop. Okay, we have to stop. That's why we have to. I wrote there in that presentation that never use this kind of words. And here the learning outcomes is okay, but here they use the understand. For analyze is okay. Okay. Here they use again the understand, know, this one. And also in preparing a lesson planning, you must start from the basic also to basic to complex. How would you apply? I say, for example, at the end of the lesson planning, you already apply the formula of Ohm's law in solving engineering problems. But here, the second objective is define Ohm's law. Of course, you must define first before you apply the Ohm's law. This is one of the considerations that you should do when you are crafting the learning outcomes. So this is okay, the graduate attributes, and these are the resources. The graduate attributes, this is the institutional objectives. When the student graduate from this university, you are expected that the students have this kind of skills. They are effective communicator. They have scholastic rigor and practical competence. That's why we're offering these practical courses. And teamwork, you are expected that students can work in a team. And also lifelong learning how to learn. We are expecting that the graduate of HCT have this skill set, this one, from effective communication to entrepreneurships. These are called the college graduate attributes or the institutional objectives. And here is this is the proposal. Goal is there, okay, to enable the students to analyze the techniques. I just keep it as it is. And the course description is not mentioned there in the previous, our course delivery plan. There is no course description. So that's why I put it as white, okay? And learning objectives at the end of the semester, because learning objective is the objective of the program, okay? It is the objective of the program or the objective of the course, the objective of the teacher. Okay? This is not the objective of the student. This is the objective of the teacher of what will happen, what the student will learn at the end of the course. Okay? So at the end of the semester, the students of the BSECE program will have the ability to apply knowledge on mathematics and science to solve engineering problems, design and conduct experiments, as well as to analyze and interpret data, function on multidisciplinary teams, identify, formulate, and solve engineering problems, use techniques, skills, and modern engineering tools necessary for engineering practice, communicate effectively, apply professional and ethical responsibility, apply knowledge of engineering principles as a member and as a leader in a team to manage projects in multidisciplinary environment. The learning objectives is the objectives of the program, not of that student. While
just we have another lecturer, I have to go.
Yeah.
I want to thank you.
Okay.
It's very informative, and thanks for all for attending.
Yeah.
Just I want to tell you that you're going to receive feedback in your email. So fill that feedback, please. Then you can upload your certificate. Okay. And also this lecturer, the video and the presentation and evaluation also, you can find it in the training page. Please go there, and you can also enjoy if you forget something and you want to get back, so it's available there.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, this is the last part. Okay, thank you very much, Pakria. Okay, so hindi na, tapos na. Ito na, when the learning outcomes is like that, this is for the students. Okay, thank you very much for coming.